Now, her 14-year-old son had been offered 1 billion shillings for every 100 people that he kills once he joins the terror group Al-Shabaab. And it is this seemingly lucrative offer that lured him into the terror group. Our reporter Ian Wafula speaks to a mother who only recently discovered that her teenage son was a new terror recruit.
He was a clever boy. He used to get from 423 marks, 463, and he dropped to 230. So that's when I started suspecting something is not right. And I asked him why he's doing this, and he was not very friendly. Then in the evenings, normally he comes home at 4:30. He changed from 4:30 to 5:30, 5:30, 6:30. Then one day he came at 7. And when I confronted him, he said he doesn't want to say where he had been. I thought it's a high time that I should take him to the authority. So I took him to Kilimani Police Station, Children's Desk, and I reported the matter there. And they started investigating him, and that's why he disclosed that he had been recruited to the bad group, the Al-Shabaab, and he's leaving the country on 4th of December for training in Somalia. Then in the meantime, he disclosed that he had been trained to use a firearm, and he said he also knows how to use AK-47. He told them that he had been promised $10 million once he blows 100 people and above, if he kills 100 people and above. And they promised him they will buy him 3 Range Rovers. And those people, most of those people who are recruiting him, the ones promising the money, are on his Facebook. One is in Saudi Arabia. The one in Saudi Arabia is about 73 years old. Then there is another elder man in Nigeria who is 68. And there is somebody else he's communicating with in Syria through his Facebook account, which they opened for him. I did not myself. And when I went back home, I checked from his books. He have most of those things in writing, including some pictures of maybe what he's being trained to explode or something like that. The boys who are recruiting him into this have a school bus. I paid my son's school bus, the school bus which picks him from home and back home. But in the evenings, he doesn't take the bus that I paid. He takes that bus that ferries those. And
the bus is fitted with Wi-Fi also on board?
Yes, yes. The bus is fitted with Wi-Fi. They have a computer in the bus. They have Wi-Fi. They have access to even phones and everything. Okay, before, like if I could promise him I'll beat him up or I'll discipline him, he was fearful. Now he fears nothing.
We're now joined by security analyst Mwenda Mbijiwe to tell us more about that story. Mr. Mbijiwe, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's actually amazing how this mother was able to identify some of the red signs. Maybe if you could just tell us more, how can a parent look out for these signs?
Actually, it's amazing, and I personally want to congratulate that parent. Mm-hmm. If she'd be watching this morning, we would want even to recommend her for an award, because this is parenting 101. She was there for her child when the child needed her most. Mm-hmm. Had the child been, taken away to Somalia, gotten into the extremism schools, like he said, or rather the woman said, her friends had been taken away, then we would have lost that child forever.
Yes.
So what a parent can easily do is, there are a couple of points, mm-hmm. and I would wish to mention 3 or 4. When a child begins to have what we call character change, mm-hmm. They yes. begin to change who their friends are, and suddenly they're becoming secretive. Mm. The woman actually mentioned it, is that the child began to be unruly, uncontrollable. These are 14-year-olds. In the paper I read that there's a day she tried to discipline him, and he stood up on her and said, if you have to do it properly. And this is your son, who's normally very humble and quiet. And of yes. course, it's very important even to note from her story, mm-hmm. that the parent also snooped onto his books and found extremism materials.
Yes.
She would find drawings of guns in his books, stories that he would learn. And so these are some of the behaviors that a parent can identify. Usually, the first line of defense for a parent at this point is just to observe behavioral changes in the child.
Isn't this, you can actually maybe confuse these changes with maybe adolescent changes. How are we going as parents, how are we going to identify this is a radical change and this is just an adolescent who's just becoming, like he was unruly. Most 14-year-olds are actually very unruly.
Yeah, I know. Maybe the other point is actually to encourage dialogue and debate about current affairs, you know, with the child or with the children in the house. Then that way you'll be able to pick especially sympathy from the child onto extremism. Because, you know, their radicalizers tell them, oh, Americans are bad, they are killing Muslims, they are killing Christians, they are killing Yazidis. Imagine a Kenyan kid talking about Yazidis. What business has a Kenyan child with a Yazidi in Iraq? But these current affairs are weaved into their minds, and the child begins to react angrily at some news about some bomb that has been dropped. They are made so sympathetic of ISIS, for example. When you say Russia is bombing ISIS, the child flares up in the house.
They are more aware of this
engaging them, and then the parent should be keen to realize this child is becoming a bit sympathetic to the cause of extremism. Then that's a very, you know, telling sign. Then the other thing is actually they can even change pictures in their house. You find a child pasting the picture of Ali Baghdadi there, Osama bin Laden, that becomes their hero. Then that should be very worrisome to the parent.
And what makes these recruiters interested in 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds?
First of all, internationally we know, especially in Iraq and other countries now, they are changing that tactic because it's become so easy to identify adults or, you know, these younger adults, the 21, 20-something year olds. So they are going down into the children. Even Boko Haram has been very naughty onto this. They know younger people or younger men, these middle-aged young men, can be easily identified. So they target the children. So it's very easy for a child to hide extremism. Or to use a child, because even if you strap a bomb on her or him, it's so easy for them to walk through even security without even being checked. However, I think the greater reason or the greater risk is when these children are involved in extremism, especially in this country, with all that Al-Shabaab has sworn to do against us, is actually to have them kill their own mates in schools. And this is this wasn't going to be so far. We already know that, you know, more than 20 of them in this particular case are already in Somalia. The question is when they come back, they go to the same schools where our children go to school. Are they likely going to go for the billion shillings that they will be given for killing 100 kids? And, you know, the moment they begin to kill, there's no stopping.
That brings me to the next question. Billions of shillings, that's a lot of money. Why is Range Rovers becoming attractive to these children?
Actually, I think it's just someone, you know, preying on the innocence and naivety of children. What has a 14-year-old to do with 1 billion shillings? And that for every 100 you get a billion, so 200, 2 billion. I mean, how does a 14-year-old spend 2 billion shillings? Or a Range Rover? They are not even licensed. They don't even have a driving license to do a Range Rover. This is just a narrative of the recruiters to entice the minds of the young people. It now goes into, it shifts slowly to the level of martyrdom, where they now begin to teach them, oh, if you die, you know, you even get girlfriends, you'll be given 72 of them. And that kind of hypnotizes the child into a world of, you know, a kind of a strange reality. And this child kills, and everybody wonders, why did the child kill? The child had actually been what I call repackaged. The mind of the child had been completely clogged with falsity. And it's just amazing.
Are they changing their tactics? Because billions of shillings is a lot of money. Before, there were reports that they were the parents were being given like 50,000, 30,000 shillings. Now 1 billion with the Range Rovers. Are these recruiters actually changing their tactics?
Actually, I think this is just a script for the kids. there is no recruiter that has $1 billion shillings to pay for a child.
Yeah.
Actually, they can pay these middle-aged young men to go into Westgate or Garissa University.
Yes.
They can pay that amount of money to them. To a child, they will never pay that money. The whole idea is to radicalize the child, and the moment the child has been lured into an extremist camp
Yes.
in Somalia or wherever, they will be beaten, you know, they will be caned. This 1 billion thing becomes just a mirage. And the moment they're in the camp, there's no living there until they have internalized the radicalization with or without the money.
Yes.
And I'm sure it gets to a point where they are told, well, forget about the money. This is really about you, about your destiny, about 72 virgins,
Yes.
and the whole money thing is forgotten.
What's the role of the internet? Facebook, Twitter, all those things are playing a major role in this recruitment exercise. How are we going to tackle that? Because every teenager is on Facebook right now.
I
Everyone
know.
has an account.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, you listen to the parent.
Yeah.
She says the boy even had Facebook accounts where she was chatting with people in the Middle East, in Iraq. Now, talk to your child about what they see on TV and on the internet, and explain what they see and read may not be the whole picture.
Yes.
Parents should be able, and then discuss the risks around the internet use.
Yes.
My daughter is about 7, and we talk about internet. She knows there are certain websites she can't touch.
Yes.
And I come and check her browser history on her browser.
Yes.
I'm sure I check it every so often, maybe in a week or 2 weeks' time, to ensure that a child does not, open the wrong things online.
Yes.
Be aware of your child's online activity and update your own knowledge. A lot of parents don't even pay attention to what their children are feeding on, leave alone online, even on the television, large screens in the house. Parents don't even stop to watch what their kids are watching.
Indeed.
So we need to be very, very attentive as parents and realize this is the challenge of our generation.
Yes.
The other day I was speaking to some people about security in a meeting, and I told them the generation before us were fighting about democracy, multipartyism. That's what they wanted. That was the challenge of their generation. The challenge of our generation is terrorism. And we cannot, bury our hands in the sand as parents. If we do, this is an upper market estate. Did you even read where that was happening? It's in a neighborhood that I know.
Yeah.
And kids in that neighborhood go to very high-level schools. Imagine a massacre in such a school to change our world completely.
And are we winning this war? Because they seem to be like steps ahead of us every time.
Yeah, now that brings us to questions like Nyumba Kumi. Last night, KTN, had a poll where they asked people, do you think Nyumba Kumi is working? And I think a lot of people, especially in these high-end estates, trashed Nyumba Kumi. Karen estate, unlike most other estates, actually embraced Nyumba Kumi. I know of neighborhoods in the Karen area where the neighbors came and said, let's implement this Nyumba Kumi. I've talked to the officials of Nyumba Kumi, and Karen is one of their success stories. I think the other estates, people need to wake up. We are living with people in their estates that we do not know what they do. Now, the question is, this estate where kids would come, 10, 20 kids get into a certain house, and there's nobody telling on them, there's nobody snooping on them, I think we are letting our country down.
Yes.
Some of us are living as though this is not our country, as though we will have another country. And if such people are not careful, they'll spend the rest of their lives in a refugee camp. And I don't want to spend my life in a refugee camp. I want to watch this country so that I can be happy in my house, not in a refugee camp.
Finally, Mr. Mbijiwe, aren't these recruiters maybe afraid of, but they're talking to these young people, and these people are still in the society, they've not isolated them. Aren't they afraid that these children might talk?
Yes, of course, and in this particular case, they're really going to talk a lot. I'm sure they're talking already.
Yes.
No, I don't think they care. They hope they can succeed, and looks like this project was almost successful until an oak-eyed parent identified these changes in her child.
Yes.
This was almost a done case. They are starting the exams. This child stayed back because he had not sufficiently acquired, to the standard of radicalization by August to be able to travel to Somalia to be trained. His colleagues left. But also the other reason was for him to sit back, to stay back and sit for his exams, national exams. They are about a month to come.
Yeah.
And they said he was going to leave Kenya on the 4th of December to go out there. Now, these recruiters don't care. I can assure you, even if we take down that cell, because this now operates within a cell.
Yes.
This is a recruiting cell in Nairobi upper market area. Even if we take that cell down, they still have other people around. The question is eternal vigilance from us as Kenyans, as parents, and I think we need to start that discussion. Nyumba Kumi needs to start that discussion. Schools, the most important people in this process now of identifying this radicalization, other than parents, is actually the teachers.
Yes.
And I challenge the TSC, up their game. Begin training for their teachers. Begin to train teachers in the schools. I challenge schools. I know schools like one school where my daughter was previously, Premier Academy,
Yes.
who actually took it upon themselves to train their staff about these issues. They even called us, to come and consult with them. So schools should take it upon them, their responsibilities to train their staff on how to identify this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mwenda Bijiwe, our security analyst today. And parents should be more involved, teachers should be more involved in the students' activities.